Every time you say, I am tired or I am broke, you're not just describing your life, you're programming it. And the worst part, the universe is obeying you, word for word. Most people don't see it. They think they're simply reporting the news of their own lives. But in the language of the quantum field, you're declaring, you're sending out frequency commands that the universe cannot ignore. Two simple words, I am, carry more creative power than any goal, wish, or vision board you've ever made. Why? Because whatever follows I am becomes the blueprint of your identity. And in the language of creation, this is not poetry, this is not philosophy, this is physics. Your I am is the signal. Reality is simply the echo. So pause for a moment and ask yourself, what identity have you been broadcasting today? Because whether you realize it or not, your words are building your world. In the quantum field, words are not, they are vibrations carrying information. And that information tells reality exactly what to become. Every time you speak I am, you send out a signal that fuses identity with existence. And in the mechanics of creation, identity is the command line. Think about this. The double-slit experiment proved that the act of observation changes the outcome. Now imagine what happens when you don't just observe, but define yourself. When you say, I am tired, you are not just noticing fatigue. You are collapsing into the reality where tiredness is your truth. When you say, I am broke, you are tuning yourself to the frequency of scarcity, and the quantum field, being the perfect mirror it is, reflects that scarcity back without hesitation. This is why spiritual teachers for thousands of years, from ancient mystics to modern scientists, have pointed to these two words as the key to creation. In the Bible, when Moses asked the divine for its name, the answer was simple. I am that I am. That wasn't just scripture. It was an instruction manual for the human soul, a revelation that the essence of creation is self-definition. And here's the truth most people never hear. The field doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you are being. Here's the trap. Most people use I am unconsciously, and they use it against themselves. They attach it to temporary states, as if they were permanent truths. I am tired becomes, I am a tired person. I am bad with money becomes, I am someone who never has enough, and without realizing it, they lock themselves into these frequencies, like tuning a radio to a channel filled with static, and wondering why the music never changes. This isn't because the universe is punishing you. It's because the universe is obedient. The quantum field doesn't debate. It doesn't edit your words. It simply echoes back whatever identity you broadcast. Think of it like a perfect mirror. If you stand in front of it and say, I am powerless, the reflection agrees. If you stand in front of it and say, I am powerful, the reflection shifts to match. The problem is most people have been trained, conditioned, programmed to speak only what they see in front of them. They call it being realistic. But in quantum creation, that's backwards. You don't speak only what you see. You speak what you choose to see. There's a state of being where I am becomes unstoppable. It's not about ego. It's not about pretending you're better than anyone else. a state where your inner identity is so coherent, so deeply synchronized with your desired reality, that there is no gap between who you say you are and what you experience in the physical world. This state has been whispered about for centuries. Mystics called it union with the divine. Modern thinkers call it coherence. I call it the God state. In neuroscience, it's known as self-directed neuroplasticity. Your brain rewiring itself to match the identity you consistently embody. In quantum mechanics, it's resonance. Your field vibrating in harmony with a chosen frequency. And here's the law. When your field matches the frequency of a reality, that reality has no choice but to match you back. This is not about begging the universe for a blessing. It's about embodying the blessing so completely that the universe can't tell the difference between you and the reality you've declared. Imagine a tuning fork struck to the note A. Place another beside it, and without touching it, it begins to vibrate in perfect harmony. No pushing, no convincing, just resonance. That's how the God state works. When you vibrate as the version of you who already has the health, the wealth, the love, the peace you desire, those realities are drawn to you. Not because the God state doesn't wait for proof. It doesn't wait for the stars to align, or for the bank account to hit a certain number, or for someone else to finally believe in you. It begins the moment you stop using I am to describe your past and start using it to declare your chosen future. As if it's already here, you stop saying, I am working toward abundance. And you start saying, I am abundant now. At first, your mind will fight you. It will say, this isn't true. It will call it lying. But in quantum creation, you are not lying. You are leading, you are guiding your body, your field, and once coherence is established, reality has no choice but to follow. You're no longer reacting to the conditions you see. You're creating the conditions you desire. This is why people who master their I am don't just manifest more, they manifest faster, because the quantum field stops reading their words as a request and starts reading them as fact. Before you can fully anchor into the God state, you have to dismantle the old loop. Because if you've spent years saying, I am unlucky, I am not enough, I am always struggling, those programs are still running in the background, broadcasting a frequency that the quantum field is faithfully mirroring back to you. Here's the truth. The field doesn't respond to the words you say once in the morning. It responds to the identity you repeat, the one you live inside of moment after moment. This means the first step to real change isn't adding shiny new affirmations. It's catching the old ones in the act and cutting their power. The next time you hear yourself say, I am tired, pause. Don't try to force a fake positive that your body doesn't believe. Shift to a neutral but aligned state. Like, I am restoring my energy. If you say, I am broke, shift to, I am learning to manage money with ease. Why? Because these small shifts interrupt the old vibration. Without triggering over time, these neutral shifts become stronger. They evolve into powerful declarations. I am vibrant. I am wealthy now. I am a magnet for abundance. And here's the science behind it. Every time you choose a new I am, you collapse a different version of reality in the quantum field. Your identity becomes the tuning and your life begins to vibrate in harmony with it. In the famous double-slit experiment, scientists discovered something extraordinary. Particles behaved differently when they were observed, not because the observer touched them, but because the act of observation itself changed reality. Now, bring that truth closer to home. You are the observer of your own life, and every I am you speak is an act of self-observation when you declare, I am confident. You collapse into a version of reality where confidence is fact. When you declare, I am abundant, you collapse into the reality where abundance is your baseline. This is why waiting for proof before changing your identity keeps you stuck, because proof is the last thing to arrive. Identity comes first, reality follows. Most people do the opposite. They wait to see it before they believe it. But in the God state, you believe it until you see it. And the universe, the quantum field, has no choice but to mirror the frequency you've locked into. Here's the real magic. Once you stabilize this identity, it becomes self-reinforcing. Your new results build more faith. That faith strengthens your signal, and your signal draws in even greater results. It becomes a loop, not of limitation, but of alignment. You can't just think your way into the God state, because if your body feels unsafe in that new identity, it will sabotage it. It will pull you back to what's familiar, even if what's familiar is pain, struggle, or scarcity. This is why so many people affirm, I am abundant. But deep down, their nervous system still flinches at the thought of money. Maybe it remembers the fear from growing up in lack. Maybe it still carries the shock of financial loss. If your body associates your desire with danger, you will unconsciously resist it. So, here's the bridge. You must teach your nervous system that the new identity is safe. When you say, I am abundant, don't just speak it. Breathe with it. Slow your heartbeat. Let your shoulders relax. Visualize abundance while your body is in a calm state, so your mind links this identity with peace instead of fear. This rewires your emotional memory. And once your body believes, your mind and energy can finally stay in coherence. Because here's the truth. When your thoughts, your emotions, and your physical state are all tuned to the same frequency, that's when the shift becomes permanent. And in that moment, you're not chasing the new reality, and reality has no choice but to match you. Stepping into your God state is not a one-time event. It's a practice, a way of moving through life so consistently that your identity and your reality can no longer be told apart. I use a 3-step loop to lock it in. Step 1. Pause before you act or react. Every action begins with identity. Before you speak, before you decide. This moment is where you choose who you are being before the world hears you. Step 2. Feel it fully in your body. Don't just say, I am abundant. Feel your breath deepen. Notice your posture shift. Let your body behave as if the abundance is already here. Your nervous system learns faster through sensation than through logic. Step 3. Move from that identity. Walk into the room, as if your I am is already the most undeniable truth in the universe. The more you run this loop, the more your external world falls in line with your inner world, not because you forced it, but because you resonated with it so deeply, the field had no choice but to match you. And here's the most important part. You don't need to do it perfectly, because repetition is how identity becomes permanent. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to manifest without effort, while others feel like they've been working on themselves for years and nothing changes? It's not luck. It's not that the lucky ones know some secret technique they're hiding from you. It's this: they don't. Once they decide, I am powerful, they live from it. Once they decide, I am abundant, they act, speak, and think in harmony with it. They don't bounce back and forth between I am certain and I hope this works. Most people oscillate. They claim their power in the morning and doubt it by the afternoon. They step into their God state for a few minutes, then slip into their old story when life tests them. But the ones who manifest with ease make the decision once, and they treat that decision like the only truth that's ever existed. Here's the paradox: your current reality is old data. It's just the echo of past I am statements. If you judge your new identity by the echo of your old one, you'll never give it the time it needs to become your new baseline. The ones who manifest quickly don't take the echo as evidence. They speak from the new frequency until the echo changes, and that is the only difference. Transformation doesn't always arrive in lightning bolts. Sometimes it's in the smallest adjustments, the quiet rewrites, the moments no one else even notices. I call them micro shifts. These are the tiny pivots in language and thought that rewire your frequency in real time. When you catch yourself saying, I am overwhelmed, and instead you breathe. When you think, I am not ready, and you upgrade it to, I am prepared. They seem small, but in the quantum field, they are massive, because every I am is a broadcast, and every broadcast is casting a vote for the reality you will experience next. Here's the beauty of micro shifts: they compound. You might start with 1 or 2 a day, but soon you no longer have to catch yourself because the new identity is running automatically. And once your identity is on autopilot, the field stops hesitating. It stops sending mixed signals. It locks onto your frequency, and the results start showing up so fast. You'll wonder why you didn't start sooner. That's when you realize change isn't always about big leaps. Sometimes it's about steady alignment, moment by moment, until the leap happens for you. The real magic isn't getting the quantum field to respond once. It's getting it to stay locked onto your signal. Day after day, month after month, year after year. Think of it like tuning a radio. If you keep twisting the dial, the song keeps cutting out. The same thing happens with your identity. Every time you shift between I am and I am not, you break the signal to lock the field onto your frequency. You need stability. You need to hold your chosen identity long enough for reality to completely reorganize around it. And here's the truth: most people avoid that stability is an inside job. It's not about avoiding challenges or waiting for perfect circumstances. It's about refusing to let circumstances rewrite your. When the bill arrives, you still declare, I am abundant. When the relationship ends, you still declare, I am loved. When the obstacle appears, you still declare, I am unstoppable. Because the field doesn't care about the details of your day. It cares about the frequency you hold. Hold it long enough, and the results stop flickering. They become permanent, because now the field isn't just reacting to you, it's entrained to you. It knows who you are, and it doesn't need to keep asking. This is the moment where manifestation stops being a practice and starts being your nature. The moment you begin holding your new I am, don't be surprised. It's not a sign you're failing. It's proof you're shifting. Think about it. Every old belief, habit, and pattern you've carried has momentum. And momentum doesn't just vanish the second you decide to change. It tries to pull you back. It whispers, "See, nothing's different." It tempts you to return to the familiar, even if the familiar is the very thing you prayed to escape. This is where most people give up. They mistake the pushback for a sign they're off track, when in truth, it's the resistance of the old identity breaking apart. Here's the paradox. The tests you face right after a shift aren't to prove to the universe that you're worthy. They're to prove to yourself that your new identity is non-negotiable. When life tries to hand you your old frequency, you have a choice. Take it back, or keep holding the new one until the old dissolves completely. If you keep holding, the pushback fades. The tests stop coming, because the old reality finally realizes it no longer has a home in your field. And that is when the breakthrough happens. The fastest way to make your God state permanent is to live as if not someday, not when the proof arrives. But now, living as if doesn't mean pretend. It means embodying the truth of your chosen identity so deeply that your actions, your tone, your posture are all broadcasting the same signal. If your I am is I am abundant, you don't wait for more money to show up before you act like it. You carry yourself with the calm confidence of someone who knows resources are always flowing. If your I am is I am loved, you don't wait for a relationship to feel complete. You walk, breathe, and speak as someone who knows love is their natural state. Here's the ritual. Every morning before the world's noise floods in, take 3 minutes to drop into your identity. Close your eyes. Say your I am out loud. Feel it in your body. And then picture yourself walking through. When decisions come, ask yourself, what would the version of me who already lives this truth do right now? Then do that. No matter how small, no matter how ordinary the action seems. Because here's the secret. It's not the giant leaps that seal your God state. It's the consistency. 1,000 small decisions aligned with your chosen I am will bend reality faster than one big dramatic move. And the longer you live this way, the less it feels like effort. Because you're no longer trying to become something, you've already become it. When you live as if, something powerful begins to happen. Your external world starts shifting to reflect your internal choice. At first, it might be subtle, a random opportunity, a conversation that feels perfectly timed, a moment where someone treats you exactly like the version of yourself you've been declaring, and that belief strengthens your frequency. Your frequency pulls in more evidence. This is the feedback loop of alignment. It's a cycle that feeds itself. You're no longer pushing reality to change. You're allowing it to respond. And the more you trust it, the faster it moves. Here's the key. Don't break the loop. When the shift begins, it may feel small compared to your full vision. Don't mistake small for insignificant. Small is the seed. If you nurture it, it grows into the reality you've been holding. But if you uproot it with doubt, you interrupt the cycle. The ones who manifest with ease don't treat early results, they treat them as confirmation. They let every small sign fuel the signal they're sending. And soon, the loop becomes unstoppable. Your identity is locked in. Your field is steady, and reality has no choice but to keep matching you even when you are fully aligned. The field will still test you, not to punish you, but to confirm that your new identity is unshakable. The test usually comes disguised as something familiar, a delay that would have made the old you panic, an unexpected bill that would have made the old you slip back into scarcity, a conversation that triggers the wounds you thought you'd left behind. In that moment, the universe is asking one question: will you hold, or will you fold? If you react from the old identity, you slip back into the old frequency. If you respond from the new identity, you solidify the new frequency so deeply that the old reality can never return. This is why the God state isn't fragile. It's not a candle you protect from the wind. It's the flame itself, unshaken, unwavering, unstoppable. So when the test comes, you don't panic. You don't beg. You don't doubt. You breathe. You remember your I am, and you answer life's challenge from the version of you who has already won. Do that, and the test becomes the proof. The obstacle becomes the evidence, and the challenge becomes the final door, before the reality you've been holding finally becomes the one you're living. There's a moment in this journey where you realize you're no longer trying to hold your God state. It's just who you are. You wake up in the morning, you walk into rooms, and people respond to the presence you carry even before you speak. Opportunities start showing up without the chase, and synchronicities feel so normal, you almost forget they used to be rare. The shift becomes permanent when the old identity no longer feels like home. When even in moments of stress, your reflex is to respond from your chosen I am, not because you force it, but because you can't imagine speaking or thinking in the old way anymore. It's like a language you've forgotten. You could try to speak it, but it would feel foreign, unnatural, heavy. This is the point where the quantum field no longer sees your identity as a request. It sees it as fact. It stops asking, "Who are you?" and instead, it begins delivering life on autopilot, according to the frequency you've made your permanent home. Once your God state becomes your baseline, you can take it further. Because reality doesn't just respond to your words and emotions. It responds to your environment. Every space you walk through, every object in your home, every voice you let into your life. It's all a mirror, and your subconscious is watching it. All the time. If your surroundings still reflect the old identity, you're sending mixed signals to the field. So here's the advanced layer. Curate your world to match the I am you've chosen. If your identity is I am abundant, let your space feel like abundance. It doesn't have to be expensive. It just has to broadcast ease and beauty. If your identity is I am healthy and vibrant, let your routines, your kitchen, your schedule all reflect that. If your identity is I am magnetic and influential, surround yourself with people and places that match that frequency. This isn't about aesthetics. It's about coherence. When your environment, your actions, and your words all agree, the field has nothing left to question. It stops flickering between timelines. It locks on, and your reality accelerates. Even when you're deeply aligned, life can still throw you challenges. A sudden bill, a delay, a conversation that stings more than you expected. Most people take these moments as proof their manifestation isn't working. They step out of their God state and straight back into the old identity. But here's the truth. A setback is not a sign of failure. It's an invitation to anchor deeper. When life presents contrast, it's not telling you to give up. It's giving you a chance to prove to yourself that your I am is unshakable. If your identity is I am abundant, and an unexpected expense appears, you don't collapse into fear. You breathe, you remember your frequency, and you hold it, even as you handle the situation. Because the real measure of mastery is not how you act when everything's flowing. It's how you hold your state when it's not. If you can remain aligned in the storm becomes your proof. It becomes the final push before the next level of reality unfolds. There comes a point in this journey where going back is no longer an option, not because you can't, but because you wouldn't even recognize yourself there. This is the point of no return. The old identity, the one you lived in for years, feels heavy, small, out of tune with who you've become. Even when life tries to hand it back to you, it doesn't fit anymore. The words you used to speak feel foreign in your mouth. The thoughts you used to think. You've crossed into a frequency where your past can't follow you. Not because the past has disappeared, but because you've stopped fueling it with your attention, your emotions, and your I am. From here, every choice, every step, every breath moves you deeper into your chosen reality. You're not hoping it works. You're not waiting for signs. You're the living proof. And the universe no longer needs convincing. It delivers because delivering is the only thing it can do for someone who knows exactly who they are. When you fully anchored into your God state, something shifts beyond your personal reality. You stop just receiving from the field, and you start transmitting so powerfully that the people and spaces around you begin to change. Your presence becomes magnetic, not because you're trying to influence anyone, but because coherence is. Someone stands near you, and without even realizing it, their breath slows, their voice softens, their energy steadies. They feel safer, more open, more aligned, simply because you are holding your frequency without flinching. You become a living example of what's possible, and without preaching, without pushing, you give others permission to remember their own power. This is the quiet influence of the God state. You're no longer just manifesting for yourself. You're becoming a tuning fork for reality itself, shaping the world around you without lifting a finger. And when you reach this level, you understand the truth that was there all along. The greatest manifestation is not what you get, it's what you become. When you live in your God state long enough, you realize something profound. There is no ceiling. At first, you use this identity to manifest what you once thought was impossible. The health, the wealth, the relationships, the peace. But once those arrive, you see that the God state was never about the things. It was about the limitless. From here, your desires evolve. They expand. They deepen. You no longer chase goals from lack. You create visions from overflow. You're no longer trying to fill a gap. You're simply expressing more of who you already are. And here's the beautiful paradox. The more you expand, the more the field You're not depleting energy. You're multiplying it. This is why people who live in alignment seem to experience wave after wave of blessings. It's not that they're lucky. It's that the God state is a self-feeding system. The more you embody it, the more it gives you to embody, and the cycle never ends. The God state isn't something you visit for a few weeks. It's the home you live in for the rest of your life. But to keep it, you must understand one thing. Stability isn't about perfection. It's about returning, Even the most aligned person will have moments where old thoughts whisper, where old patterns try to creep back in. That's not failure. That's simply the echo of who you used to be. The key is to notice the slip quickly and return to your chosen identity without hesitation. You don't spiral. You don't argue with yourself. You don't gather evidence for why things are going wrong. You breathe, you speak your I am, and you move from it. Over time, this quick return becomes automatic. You no longer stay in the dip. You bounce back in minutes, sometimes seconds, and that's when the God state stops feeling like a practice and starts feeling like your nature, because no matter what the outside world does, the inside remains unshaken. You've built an inner foundation so strong that nothing can knock you out of alignment. This is stability for life. By now, you've seen the pattern. You've felt the truth in your own body. You know that the two words I am are not just language. They are the blueprint of your reality. And once you choose your identity with intention, once you embody it without compromise, the field has no choice but to follow. This isn't theory anymore. It's not motivation. You'll forget by tomorrow morning. This is a decision that rewrites the code you've been running for years and replaces it with a signal so clear, so coherent, that the old reality can't survive in its presence. So here's the shift. From this moment forward, you are not working on becoming this version of yourself. You move from it until the world has no choice but to catch up. And when it does, you won't be surprised. You'll simply smile, because you already knew. Take a deep breath right now. Place your hand over your heart and speak it with me, slowly, with certainty. I am that. I am. Feel those words travel through you, not as a wish, not as a because from this moment forward, the universe doesn't have to wonder who you are, and neither do you. This is the frequency that changes everything. Not someday, not when it's convenient now. So here's what I want you to do. Type it in the comments right now. I am in my God state. When you write it, you're not just engaging with this video. You're sending a signal to the field. You're locking this truth into your subconscious, and you're telling the old identity, it's over. Don't just let this be another video you watch and forget. Live it, breathe it. Carry it into every conversation, every decision, every step you take from this second on. Because the moment you fully choose your I am, the field moves, the mirror, and your new reality begins. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay rooted, stay radiant, and remember, your I am is the most powerful force in the universe. Use it like your life depends on it.